How much of the odds of Trump actually spending time behind bars depends on his conduct between now and July 11th when he's actually sentenced?
Sure, that's a really great question, because even before the trial started, we were speaking with legal experts who said that while they thought it was unlikely that Trump would be spending any time behind bars if he were convicted, that a lot really does depend on how a defendant behaves after they are found guilty. We've seen plenty of cases before where a defendant has admitted some sort of wrongdoing, taken some responsibility, and that has helped the outlook for a sentence. Not only is Trump not taking any responsibility for the verdict, he's, of course, going on the attack, and as we've seen over the weekend. So it really is going to be interesting to see how much time the DA suggests, if any, in his sentencing recommendation, and what the judge actually comes down with at the sentencing on July 11th.
We should remind our viewers and listeners that Erik was actually in the courthouse for the bulk of this trial. And you were just great, Erik, your team transmitting real-time information for us in a world without cameras and microphones. But procedurally, I'm compelled by the next step, and I believe that's an interview that the former president of the United States will have with a probation officer. How's that going to work?
Yeah, this is a really standard procedure where a defendant who has been convicted has to meet with these probation individuals and just sort of try to give a sense of who they are as a person, what kind of risks they might face if they are flight risk, that sort of thing. It's something that is very secret. It's not something we're ever expecting to see. So really, the biggest public documents that we can expect to come out of this might be the recommendations from the DA and perhaps from the defense. But I'd tell you, it would be really fascinating to be a fly on the wall in one of these interviews, because it's going to be something that Trump has certainly never experienced before.
Yeah, I think we would all love to be a fly on the wall in that room, Erik. Of course, we've paid a lot of attention over the course of the last several weeks to this trial in particular, but a new trial with political implications began today in Delaware. President's son, Hunter Biden, on trial for 3 gun-related crimes, essentially buying a firearm and lying about his addiction to crack cocaine. At least those are the allegations. The jury was selected today. We understand that the opening statements will be tomorrow. How difficult is this case for the president's son and his defense team?
You know, it does seem like a fairly difficult case, only because I'll point out that some of the biggest evidence that the government has against Hunter Biden came from, his own book. He sort of admitted out there in public that he was addicted to drugs at the time that he got this firearm. So that being said, his lawyers do have a defense plan here. They're planning to argue that, technically speaking, perhaps Biden was not actually addicted or high at the moment that he bought the weapon, and that perhaps there's a distinction there, and that some of the laws around this particular law are too vague to be applied in this specific way. So the lawyers have come up with some theories to get around this. Potentially, it's of course going to be up to this jury, but some of that evidence, like I said, comes straight from Hunter Biden's own book.
Erik, there was a plea deal, of course, in this case, and it played out in the public eye as it completely fell apart, but it did not include prison time. And I wonder if that plea deal gives us any sense of how this case might resolve.
We never got to that stage, so it's unclear. But it's also worth pointing out that there is a separate case, a tax-related case that Hunter Biden faces from the same special counsel that was brought in California, a federal court, that is going on trial in September. So, even if Hunter Biden is convicted, he's still going to face this other trial. And even if he's acquitted, he'll face this other trial. So it really is an unprecedented situation that he is facing here.
Erik, it's great to have you back in the Bureau. Bloomberg's Erik Larson, having lived through the trial in Lower Manhattan, with us on Balance of Power. For more on the ongoing fallout from former President Trump's conviction, we bring in Bloomberg's Saleha Mohsin. It's great to see you at the table. As always, Saleha, lawmakers are coming back to Washington now. So this is kind of the next leg in the story as we go from the legal aspect to the political one, not only on the campaign trail, but resonating here in Washington. The big headline today, though, seems to be the money. We're at, what was it, $52 million, if my memory is correct, up from 38 million or 34 million rather at the end of last week. This is just tens of millions of dollars continue to come in, small donations, and in many cases, new donors. What are we learning about Donald Trump's chances through the money?
Yeah, a quarter of those are new donors. We're seeing small cash amounts coming in, showing that people who don't have a ton of money, don't have millions or thousands to give, still want to participate in democracy in this way. The interesting thing is that we didn't actually learn anything new about Trump and his history in the run-up to the 2016 election from the trial. So I don't know if what the money that's coming in, if that signifies a sigh of relief of like, this person didn't completely get sort of thrown overboard by the trial. It's not as bad as we expected. Or if it kind of was like, okay, well, we've crossed that Rubicon. He's convicted, but he's still standing there and conventions are coming up. A debate is coming up. We're going to put our money there.
Or perhaps the fact that he was convicted provides more evidence to some that this is all rigged against him, and therefore they want to lend his money to support. It's remarkable, though, the figures that we're considering. The Trump campaign, together with the RNC, says they raised $141 million in May. And Saleha, we've been talking so much about this cash gap between Trump and Biden, that Trump has been having to play catch up. With figures like this, knowing we haven't heard from the Biden campaign yet, it potentially is a gap that is all but closed.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, what have we been saying for the last couple of months? That the polls show that Trump is edging ahead, but the money is showing that Biden's winning. But if we're going to use those same metrics right now, Biden is winning on both counts. So maybe the sitting president is an underdog right now.
Senator Mike Lee says he's going to slow things down in the Senate, gum up the works here, keep Biden initiatives from progressing, all in the name of retribution for Donald Trump. Judicial nominations will be on ice, for instance. So I guess the store is closed in more ways than one on Capitol Hill now.
Absolutely. They're looking to gum up legislation in all parts of Washington right now to kind of show that, hey, they think that the progressives or Democrats were putting their thumb on the scale for the Trump verdict or the timing of that trial, and also kind of show a judge how things are playing out, right? I mean, if you're a judge on this case and you're seeing public outcry, I don't know. I would think you're a human being. It's going to affect how you rule. They're supposed to be more pristine than the rest of us. So I don't know if it's going to influence his thinking.
Yeah, and of course, we'll see how it actually influences legislative business on Capitol Hill. Even if they aren't doing much legislating next week, though, we do now have a date for Benjamin Netanyahu, the prime minister of Israel, giving a joint address to Congress. It'll be next week, June 13th. Biden will actually be at the G7. He won't even be in town. But Netanyahu and Joe Biden, seems that they've gotten their wires crossed potentially in recent days. Joe Biden with a big speech Friday saying we have this 3-phase plan that Israel has agreed to. We just need Hamas to sign on. And then Netanyahu seeming to say not so fast. Not all of this is as you characterized it. What's going on?
Absolutely, Kailey. It's been a little hard to figure out what is White House spin and U.S. administration spin versus what is Hamas saying and what is Benjamin Netanyahu saying. It does look, Biden officials have said that this was kind of Hamas's plan that they proposed, that Israel turned down a few weeks back, and we have added some new brushstrokes to it and proposed it again. And it doesn't, and they did give Netanyahu a couple of hours notice that this speech is coming, and here are the brass tacks of it. And now we're seeing that Netanyahu is expressing a little bit of surprise and pushing back on that deal.